Hello, everyone. Hello, it's Dr.
Hello.
Lee from the Heal Her 2 Foundation, coming live today for our first Survivor Sunday. We used to do these 2 years ago where we would have survivors come on and tell their breast cancer journey, their stories, all of their woes, all of their experiences with being a survivor, with being a thriver, and even being a supporter. So today we have two beautiful survivors. We have Jennifer Wilson. Jennifer was diagnosed in 2010 with triple negative breast cancer. She transformed her breast cancer journey into a beacon of hope, dedicating herself to various events. She established Cupcakes and Shine, a platform that raises awareness for breast cancer during the Awareness Month. Every year, they leverage their resources to host events like a Purposeful Living Conference featuring inspiring speakers, a Wellness Day, and for the first time last year, a fundraising dinner and awards ceremony, which I couldn't go to. I was out of town.
Aw.
That's
Next time.
Jennifer Wilson. Jennifer, thank you for being here today.
Hello, absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And then we have Freedom Lemoi. Free is a two-time breast cancer survivor. At the age of 35, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. She says that having been diagnosed with breast cancer was both a blessing and a curse. The curse, of course, was the diagnosis. The blessing was had she not been adamant about getting a mammogram at the age of 35, when the doctor told her 40, she may not be here today. That blessing was saving herself, her sisters, and daughter, who all, hear me, who all have been diagnosed with breast cancer since then. Her sister was diagnosed at the age of 32, and her daughter was diagnosed in 2019 at the age of 29. At that time, I remember when her daughter was diagnosed, because had been diagnosed for the second time and was finishing up treatment at that time. Her sister's doctor suggested they all get genetic testing. Free, her two younger sisters, her daughter, her mother, they were all tested, and all five of them had the BRACA gene. And 4 out of 5 of them have experienced breast cancer. From 2018 to present, breast cancer in her family hit the family. In 2018, Free had a reoccurrence. In 2019, Free's daughter was diagnosed. In 2020, her younger sister discovered that she had breast cancer. In 2021, Free's daughter had a reoccurrence. And then in 2022, her younger sister had a reoccurrence. And in 2023, her younger sister was diagnosed with MBC, which is metastatic breast cancer. And currently, the cancer has spread to her liver. After being diagnosed with breast cancer the second time, Free's mantra and hashtag became "Cancer took my breasts, but not my breath." Free became free and let go of all things that were holding her back. She adopted her name, Lemoi, as an acronym for loving every moment of it. She is also a co-author of 12 Shades of Breast Cancer. Free tries to encourage people to be an advocate of their health. Free,
Yes.
first and foremost, as I said, behind the stage, guys, we just got through praying because Free is with us right now. She's sitting in her car because her sister, who we said has been diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, has been rushed back to the hospital tonight. So we are grateful that Free is able to be here with us, but this is breast cancer. This is what breast cancer is. This is what a lot of folks don't get to see, the bad, the ugly. A lot of times you don't get to see what we deal with on a regular basis. You don't get to see the reoccurrences that some of us experience. So I'm going to just get started, and I'm going to ask both of you about your diagnosis. Jennifer, where were you when you were diagnosed with breast cancer?
Again, I want to say thank you so much, Lakeisha, for this platform, for opening up this platform. This is just truly vital. I didn't have now almost 14 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I wasn't privy to platforms like this. I wish I was, because it's in these stories is where we understand and learn that this is real, you know, how to even look for something like this and just to even be prepared. So thank you so much.
Mhm.
Um,
Thank you for being here. It's
Absolutely.
just it's just as hard to find someone who wants to share their story. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
yes,
Because a lot of times when I first was diagnosed, I was embarrassed. So
yeah,
thank you for being here.
absolutely, absolutely. And that's another thing. There's no shame in this. The idea is to get the information out, because this thing, so many people are affected by it, whether personally or through family or indirectly. We all need to have platforms like this, and no shame at all.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So back to your question, I had already gone and had a biopsy, and I
Mhm.
was waiting for my results. It took, I believe, I don't know if it was a week, but I was actually at work. I was in the office. I was sitting at the desk, and my cell phone rings, and I answer it, and it's the nurse from at the time was Harbor, not Harbor, Westwood, UCLA, and
Mhm.
she says, "Miss Wilson, it's cancer." And I'm at the desk, and I says, "Whoa, whoa, I'm sorry." And she says, "It's cancer." And so I says, "Well, give me just a moment so that I can walk outside the office," and I'm in the hallway. And she says, "Yeah, we've got your results, and it is cancer. So we contacted the doctor. We've got this whole plan. We need you to come in." So she gives me the plan. I hang up and I immediately call my mom, and I says, "Mom, the results are in, and it's cancer." And my mom says, "You know, we've got this. We've got this." And so from that moment on, everything went like 100 miles per hour. Everything was spinning. Um, but I was offended at first from the nurse. "Hey, Miss Wilson, it's cancer." I'm like, "Wait, I mean, you don't know if I'm sitting, if I'm
Mhm.
gonna collapse, I had no warning. It was just thrown at me. But later I learned that there was an urgency. There was an urgency to get the information to me. And I later appreciated it, because I know that oftentimes before, a lot of results were given over the phone, or phone calls are made from clinics or wherever, and they'll say, "Hey, we've got your results. We need you to come in." And people
Mhm.
will put it off. They say, "Well, I can go next week. I could go whenever." And in that moment, there was no time. She
Right.
needed to deliver the information to me so that we can hit the thing, head on. And so that later, after I was able to process it, I was able to appreciate it. But the initial initial was like, "Wow, really?" So yeah, that I was there working when I received the information.
So tell me this, what made you get tested in the first place? What was the concern?
So and that's another thing, when I go out and I speak to women and men alike all over, I always express to them being familiar with your body. And so, because I am very familiar with my body, I did feel something that was foreign.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and it stayed. And I thought maybe at first it was like, okay, during my menstrual cycles, I will get a little lumpy, but it stayed even after. So I says, okay, now this does not feel right. I do need to go have a, a doctor take a look. And sure enough, I went in. And so the doctor, she says, well, she did an actual physical exam, and she says, but you know what, let's just take a better look at it. And so the appointment that I had initially was for an ultrasound, where I ended up having the biopsy, because when I got there, they said, we're just going to go ahead and biopsy it. But it
Gotcha.
was just feeling it. I wasn't even versed in doing, the self exam, breast exams back at that time. I just was very familiar with my body, and it it was kind of it was just something that I ran across, and I said, this is not normal.
Kind of like Free. When she
Okay.
tells her story, I
Yeah.
remember her saying how she just knew,
Yeah.
even though they were telling her no, she was like,
Mhm.
yes. I
Hmm.
need this. So when she tells her story, you'll hear just being aware of your
Yeah.
body. So that's something that we need to impress upon women is make sure you know your body. You are
Mhm.
the
Absolutely.
expert on your body.
Exactly.
Nobody knows your body better than you. And if you don't
Yeah.
press when you feel like there's an issue with your body, you know anything can go wrong. Anything can happen.
100%.
So, Free, what about you? Tell us your story.
In 2007, I was going to the doctor for a migraine, and I asked for a mammogram. They're like, "What?" Because I used to get these chronic headaches, and I just went to ER for this bad headache. But something in my spirit told me to ask that. I was 35 at the time, and the doctor took vitals. They had me on a machine, like to run a treadmill to see how my heart rate and everything was. It's like you're a healthy 35-year-old. You're fine. Is you're okay. I'm like, can you just schedule me for a mammogram? He's like, do you have a family history of breast cancer?
Mhm.
Does your mother, grandmother, or sister have breast cancer? No, no, they did not. But I had aunts who had breast cancer. Like, well, they're not immediate family, so it like dismissed me. But I'm like, no, I'm not leaving. Please schedule me for a mammogram. And it was a
Mhm.
while. It took about 6 months before I got one. And lo and
Wow.
behold, I
Wow.
did have it. Yeah, I had breast cancer.
Six
I got a
months?
yes. Yeah, they were
Wow. What
so,
stage
yeah,
were you when after 6 months of waiting? Because it can spread very rapidly.
yes.
So what stage were you
One. It
once
was
you
one. It was one. It
okay,
started off as DCIS. It was ductal carcinoma in situ. But
okay,
after I had my mastectomy, it was stage one, and a couple years later, which we'll get to. But it's like had I
okay.
not been adamant for my health, who knows if I'll
Hmm.
be talking to you today.
Yeah.
And that's what gets
Right.
me. And I got a call under private, and it was a doctor apologizing to me. So it's for not listening to me. I'm
Because you
like,
were right. Hmm.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
go by textbooks. It's like, okay, at 40 you should get a mammogram, and they don't listen to us, so we have to make sure they hear us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, they go by textbook
Mm.
that used to be
Yes.
appropriate textbook. You know,
Hmm.
when I grew up, breast cancer was quote unquote a older white woman's disease. It was
Hmm.
not a black woman's disease. But now we're being diagnosed, especially African Americans, we're being diagnosed younger. We're being diagnosed more often than
Hmm.
normal. When I first started sharing my story, my inbox was lit up with people who looked like me, who were going
Hmm.
through or being diagnosed. And I was like, oh my God, women
Yeah.
that I hadn't even known had experienced this.
Yeah.
So it's not textbook quote unquote anymore, and we have to be
Hmm.
adamant about our health, about knowing what
Yeah.
we
Exactly.
are feeling, and take charge and command of that. Jennifer, what stage were you when you were diagnosed?
I was also stage one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what was your plan of treatment, Jennifer, once they told you that you were breast cancer positive and you were diagnosed? What was your treatment plan?
So mine was, of course, chemotherapy,
Hmm.
radiation, and then tamoxifen.
Okay.
Yeah. Um,
Yep.
chemotherapy was extremely hard. My plan was to have the 6 rounds, um, but it was so hard on my body. And going in back then, the plan or the idea or the advice from the doctor was to put on weight and just, but how do
Wow.
you really prepare for chemo, right? So
Mhm,
they're like, well,
mhm.
put on weight, and then once you're, you can eat all the meat and steak and potatoes that you want during treatment.
Hmm.
Just try, we just tried everything. But anyways, during that process, it was so hard on my body that I ended up having a blood transfusion. I was in a wheelchair at one point, and the doctors
Wow.
just had to make an executive decision just to stop, like, enough. My
Wow.
body could take no longer. It was just
Mm.
too harsh on my body. And I know with a chemo, the idea you have to attack it aggressively,
Mhm.
but it was just, after my third treatment, they were like, we're done.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of like me after my first round of chemo. I ended up in the hospital.
Yeah.
After the first round, I had four different types. I had the tamoxifen, I had
Yeah.
carboplatin, I had Perjeta,
Mm.
and I had one more thing. And when I tell you it knocked me on my butt, I was in the hospital for like 5 days.
Wow.
Chemo is the devil.
Yeah.
Yes,
It
from
is
the
the
pit of
devil.
hell. Yes.
Hmm.
It is the devil. However, when people ask me why did I chose to do the chemo, I say, you know what? It was a 50-50 chance of me
Right.
living or dying. And I
Same.
was willing to take that chance because it was
Hmm.
giving me a 50% chance of, living. I had small children and I
Right.
want to live. So I was willing to take that chance.
Yeah.
Had I been in a stage 0, maybe I would not have, but I
Right.
was stage 2, almost stage 3. So at that point, I'm like, I'm willing
Hmm.
to try anything for me to live,
That's right.
even though it was hell. But
Hmm.
I'm here by the grace of God. I'm here.
Yeah.
Amen.
Free. What about you? What was your treatment plan?
The initial from when I was diagnosed the first time, I had a mastectomy, and then 11 years later, that's when it was stage 2 when I felt a knot and I had chemo, latissimus dorsi flap, and a bilateral mastectomy. The first time they didn't take my right breast, so a prophylactic mastectomy. So yeah, I had a bilateral and a latissimus dorsi flap, chemo,
Okay, can you
radiation.
explain what that is? What the
The
flap is? And
the flap is they took a section from my back. It's like I think under the shoulder blade.
Mhm.
And since the cancer came back on the same side I had the mastectomy on, uh, I had no skin, so they had to use my back to cover that area up, and left me with a big scar. But I'm here to talk about it. And with
Amen.
the chemo, it was rough on me. I had lost 7 pounds in 1 week. They wanted to give me a blood transfusion if my blood cells didn't come up, but it got better. My tongue turned black. I could not eat. I was just on a liquid diet. That chemo is the devil, and they do have it's called a red devil cocktail.
Red Devil.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's usually they give to for triple negative. Or you were triple negative, Jennifer? Were you
Yes.
triple negative? And what were you? Were you triple negative?
No, I was not, but I guess since I had a recurrence, that was my treatment.
They went
Okay.
stronger with you? Okay. Because
Yes.
yeah, I've
Yes.
heard people who have been triple negative that they
Hmm.
usually do that cocktail, that
Yeah.
the red devil, that they use that
Yes.
Yes.
because it's strong. So for me, I had the HER2, which was a blessing because
Hmm.
being positive is something, there are chemo drugs to fight that.
Hmm.
But that triple negative is not really a drug to fight it.
Right.
It's just treatment. It's just we pray that this works.
Right.
So, with the
Exactly.
HER2, that's why we have the Herceptin, because the Herceptin can
Hmm.
intercept the breast cancer that I had, because I had the estrogen positive. So
Yeah.
the Herceptin,
Hmm.
it counteracts that.
Okay.
So by the grace, once
Yeah.
again, I got blessed in that way. But Free, I know having that surgery, that
Yeah.
flap, later you were experiencing some pains
That
with your
yes.
back problems because of that.
Get it right now while I'm talking to you. I am smiling through my pain. My
Yeah,
back still hurts. My gosh.
yeah.
I can't stand for long periods of time, but like I said, by the grace of God, I'm still here. And back to the Red Devil. My daughter also had that cocktail as well.
Okay.
Mhm. Did she
Um,
have triple negative?
no, we all are her positive, her too.
Her
Yeah,
positive? Okay.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
wonder if they gave it to you because of the reoccurrences,
Yes,
or
same with her. Yes.
because your family all tested positive for BRCA gene,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, we all are
Okay.
positive, and four of us, me, my sisters, my daughter, and myself, had breast cancer. And my mother's tested positive, but she doesn't have breast cancer or didn't have it.
But she tested positive for the BRCA gene.
For the BRCA gene, correct. Yes.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about the BRCA gene?
Oh my gosh. It's
I know your brain.
oh
I
my
know your
gosh.
brain is
Okay.
like all over the
Well, with the
place.
BRCA gene, it's like it's a likelihood 45 to 85% of you getting breast cancer. Now, with my middle sister diagnosis, she had a bilateral mastectomy. And she's like, it was not a matter of if, but when you get breast cancer. So that's why she opted to have a bilateral mastectomy, because the odds or the chance of you getting breast cancer was too high.
Yeah.
So she went with a bilateral. My daughter had a bilateral, and I later on had a bilateral. So
Because of this BRCA gene.
because of the BRCA gene, yes, because of mutation, because of yeah.
Okay. So because of the BRCA gene, 9 out of 10 times it's when you become
Yes,
breast cancer positive
exactly.
because of
Not if.
this gene.
Correct.
Okay. Because from my understanding, we all have a BRCA gene in us, but it's how it mutates or something that's different with when you with when it's BRCA positive. I
Yes.
guess it's something from my understanding. I have not done a whole lot of research on the BRCA
Me
gene
either, even though I
because
should.
because I tested negative, so I have not done a whole lot of
Yeah.
research on it. However, I'm going to do better with learning more about it. But what I do know is, as I said, I think that we all have a gene, but it's how yours mutate. Okay, BRCA genes. The function of the BRCA gene is to repair cell damage and keep breast cells growing normally. But when these genes contain abnormalities or mutations that are passed from generation to generation, the genes don't function normally, and breast and ovarian cancer risk increases. So that's
Correct.
what happens with the BRCA2 gene. It's in
Okay.
our book.
And speaking of ovarian cancer, so I was on tamoxifen, and it treats breast cancer, but it can increase ovarian cancer. I had cysts on my ovaries, so I had an oophorectomy.
Okay, what is an
An
oophorectomy?
oophorectomy is when you have your ovaries removed.
Okay.
So I had my ovaries removed. So my middle sister. And what I was upset about, because the year before I had what's called a UFE, uterine fibroid embolization, because I had fibroids. So they decreased my fibroids. And then just a year later, I get my ovaries removed. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I just been through.
And you were, what age were you then? Were you even 40?
Not even,
then?
still not 40. All this happened before 40.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
oophorectomy.
35, the diagnosis, 37, the oophorectomy. I mean, 36 was the UFE, the uterine fibroid embolization. And a year later was the oophorectomy. My ovaries were removed. Yes.
My God. My God.
Yeah.
So and these are part of the journeys that we face with breast cancer. I know for myself, breast cancer and treatment kicked me into early menopause.
Yeah.
So, they said, well, it may come back after you finish up chemo or whatever, but I was already transitioning. So I was, it was like chemo is going, just whatever. So yeah.
Same thing here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same here. Before
And
40, I was in menopause. Yeah, I was menopausal.
And these are parts of the things that we experience with breast cancer that, are not always shared. Because once you go into menopause, now you got a whole nother set of issues for a female's body that you're dealing with at 40, when, it's not even time yet, but now you're dealing with headaches and skin issues and vaginal issues and all of these other things, night sweats, and just things
more
that
hair loss.
More hair loss.
Thinning. Yes.
Your hair is thinning, your skin is thinning, just a whole, you can't lose weight, you did it. So these are just other things, other aspects of breast cancer that if you're not in the fight, you may not be privy to, or you may not experience, or you may not just be aware of, because I had to learn these things on my own. So having a sisterhood is definitely important, because we do get to share, being able to go to a support group with one another and share these things. It makes you feel normal again, because after you have your breasts removed, you have to figure out how to get them tattooed, and it's a whole lot that goes with this journey. And as grateful as I am for life, These just wasn't things that I had signed up for that I thought I would be experiencing at the age of 40, 41, 42. Those were not things on my list. I don't know about you all, but for me, I was not a drinker. I mean, I have a drink every now and once a year or something, and I'm not a
Yeah.
drinker.
Right.
I've never been a smoker. I was a
Mm-hmm.
runner. I ran marathons. I ran my whole life. I did not eat poorly. So I just didn't expect to
Same.
be told that I had
Mm-hmm.
breast cancer.
Same here. Especially the second time, that would hit like a ton of bricks. The first time I took it like a champ, like, okay, so what are you gonna do about it? That second time, I
I
think I fell on
remember.
my knees.
Yeah.
Because at that time I was I won't say a vegan, but I was a vegetarian. I
Hmm.
walked miles every single day. You couldn't tell. I was in the best shape of my life the second time I was diagnosed. I just couldn't believe it. And
Hmm.
then I grew my locks out to my butt, and then they like you got to go through chemo, and I lost my hair, but
Yeah.
I'm still becoming free.
So for your
Lord
So
Jesus.
first time you were diagnosed, and what breast was your first diagnosis?
The right, and it recurred. It had a recurrence on the right side. I had a mastectomy. It came back on the right side.
Really?
mm,
Yes.
they
Yes.
removed everything and it came
They
back again in
removed
the same.
everything. Yeah. It was close to
Wow.
under my arm. So that's why I had that big old I don't know if y'all can see this scar. Oh, but
Yeah.
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
almost like a Jesus sign. It's really big. It goes from here to my back. So they
Yeah.
really had to
Hmm.
cover that area up
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
dig it out. It's
Right.
like, yeah. And
Wow.
then
So,
I'm
wow.
sorry.
I, I I remember the second time. I remember how you and I were experiencing some depression. That,
Mm-hmm.
that that was your second time. That was my first time. And I would go to chemo. I'd be on here. I'd be smiling and sharing
Yeah.
my story, and I would be feeling so horrible. And that depression lasts for years. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm literally just now trying to come through this thing now. I've just find, even though, as I said, I've been smiling, I've been pushing through, I've been writing books, going here, doing
Yeah.
that, but I still felt stuck in depression. Tell me
Hmm.
about that for you too. How was that? Did you
Um,
experience that?
okay. In May, on Mother's Day, 2018, the same year I was diagnosed, at
Mm-hmm.
Mother's Day, my best friend took her life. Mother's Day happened to be
Mm-hmm.
my birthday. So it was Mother's Day, my birthday. A month later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she was my rock. I mean, I told her everything, and that's why I fell into a slight depression. It's like I didn't want to do anything, and then I blame myself for her. And then on top of that, it's like I didn't take. It was a lot, Lakeisha. It was a lot. Um,
I know.
Sorry.
it was a lot.
We
It
were
was. It was.
walking
It
that
was.
journey together that second time. I wasn't there that first time, but that second time, you were you were you
Hmm,
had finished and was getting ready or going through
I
some
don't
stuff.
know.
It was a lot.
It
It
was
was
a
a lot.
lot. It was a lot.
It was a
And
lot.
and then for my birthday, it's like I've also a couple of years later, I finished my radiation treatment. So like her death, Mother's Day, I finished my last cancer treatment. It's like, oh my, it's just a lot for May 13th, period.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that 2018, that was the year it hit. It was just
It was
a
hard.
domino
Yeah.
effect. It's like, goodness gracious, will this let up? And then that the chemo, um, I could barely walk. The third round, it took a lot out of me. My sister, who I'm here with now, the one who's ill, she came to help me, and that was the first time in her life that she ever seen me cry. She's like, I don't even know what to do. I was on the floor crying that I was in so much pain. I have never experienced pain like that. Yeah.
Mm.
Jennifer, what about you? Did you experience um, some depression when you
Depression.
were in treatment?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Going through radiation for sure. That was a very
Mm.
depressing, a very low time. And I remember I remember one day I would have to count the steps because I could barely walk, or I would
Mm.
have the
Dang.
walker by the bed. And I remember having to count the steps just to get to the bathroom. And I recall, because I was feeling so low, that with each step as I'm using the walker, I would say, my body is the temple of the
Mm.
holy and living God, and no unclean thing shall dwell within me. And I would have to
Mm.
recite the word with each step that I take, not only to give me strength in my body, but to give me strength in my mind, because I was in such a low place. And it just seems like the harder the chemo was, the harder that it tried to
Mm.
take away my hope. And so I just recall reciting the word every time with each step, like, Jennifer, you got this. And just like, Lord, I know
Mm.
that you're going to give me the strength to get through this. But
I don't know what it is about the chemo that affects your legs, because I too
yeah,
experienced that I could barely walk. My mother was taking care of me, and she had had a knee replacement surgery. She was up the
Mm.
stairs before I could get up the stairs
yeah,
because my legs felt so heavy that
yeah,
I could barely move them.
yes,
Now, here it is, still late. It's years later. I'm coming up on 4 years as a
Mm.
survivor, March 16th. But to
Mm.
this day, I am still experiencing issues with my legs. They hurt so bad sometimes in the middle of the night. I wake
yeah,
up aching. I wake up
Ooh.
with severe cramps. My daughter, she used to have to come and rub them, take a machine. And this is to this day. I'm talking about they ache and pain so
Mhm.
bad now that I'm still wearing compression socks.
yeah,
Ooh.
Um, so I don't know what it was about the chemo that
yeah.
affects our legs that way, but it did
Mhm.
something to my legs as well.
Mhm.
And it does. You'll have that for like many years. I don't
What?
still have it, but for a long time, my legs were still just affected by the chemotherapy, but it
Wow.
did go away. I
Mhm.
don't have any
Good.
problems with my legs, so I know yours will. It should go away also. Um,
So what kind of side effects are you experiencing now, Jennifer? Or are they all gone?
I don't have any side effects,
Thank
praise.
God.
Praise God.
I have,
Praise
Mhm.
God.
yeah.
What about you, Free? What kind of
Um,
experience, what are you experiencing?
I still think even with my backache, it's something called chemo induced osteoporosis. I do have osteoporosis, so that's my back.
Yeah.
And today I had the
So,
worst feet cramp ever. Like I'm
mhm.
told my sister I cannot drive, so I'm just I'm behind the wheel, but I'm not driving. But I know
Yeah.
ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as I said,
Mm.
I still experience these
Mm.
leg pains and these leg and severe leg and feet cramps. I
Mhm.
do. But I also my left arm is still numb. They took
Mm.
8 lymph nodes out of my arm.
Yeah.
So my
Yeah.
arm is still very numb. My daughter, she'll try to rub it and I'll be like, "Oh, stop that."
Mm.
It feels achy, like my arm is still aching. Um, I still experience headaches sometimes.
Mm.
Right now, I'm experiencing some severe issues with my vision.
Yeah.
I don't know what is going on with my eyes, but literally the paper can be right here and I cannot see.
I don't know if that's chemotherapy. That
I
happens after 40.
That's
Well,
also
well,
addition to chemo because I just
yeah,
picked,
chemo
yeah,
affects it too. Yeah.
yes, it
But
So
does.
you,
because
but you, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I asked
Um,
my doctor about it, so I actually have an appointment about it, and they said that it could be an effect from the chemo too.
Mm.
I'm like, how long do like you said, you're
that's
now
what I was gonna
14
say.
years and you're free. It's only
Yeah,
4 years for me.
yeah, yeah.
So
You're still gonna be having all of the effects.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
well, I
I
want
got
them
my
to go away.
bifocals yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and it just happened like all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was fine, and then all of a sudden now I
Mm-hmm.
can't. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
literally, and it just comes and goes. It's blurry. So I'm
Yeah.
going to get my eyes and everything checked out. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's the first person that you told when you found out you had breast cancer?
Who,
My
Jennifer?
mom. My
Mm-mm.
mom.
Your mom?
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I called my mom right away.
I did the
Mm-mm.
same. I did. What about you, Free?
I told my sister and I tried to
That
keep it
was
to
my
myself.
second person.
Yeah. I tried to keep it to myself, and she told my mom.
Okay.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
sister was the second person. Of
Mhm.
course, Journey was like, so what do you mean? I was like number 5 or 6 that you told. I was like, girl, you were 12, okay?
Right.
13. I was on a high school tour with you. I was not about to just tell you, but I remember that day. She remembered the day vividly, so she knew exactly what day it was. And
Mhm.
I remember, telling my mom, and I remember trying not to cry in front of her, going to the
Yeah.
bathroom, calling my mom and just having a breakdown, like, oh my
Mhm.
God. But I also remember hearing God say that all sickness is not unto death. So I knew that this was a testimony for me. I knew that I
Mm.
wouldn't die,
Thank you,
but I
Lord.
knew that I had to go through this.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Why?
absolutely.
Mhm.
I don't know why me, but I
Yeah.
knew that I wouldn't die from this. So once again, his grace, his
Thank
grace.
you,
Thank you.
Lord.
Mhm.
Did either of you experience any issues with insurances or free, like you said, your doctor didn't want to um give you the mammogram before time,
Mhm.
but did you have any issues while you were in treatment with your insurances or your doctors?
Um, I had Obamacare, fortunately for me, and then county care. I never had a bill. No.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Same here. And I
Mhm.
was one of when I was actually diagnosed after I received the phone call, that biopsy and mammogram that I received was actually um, through Susan G. Komen.
Wow.
Great.
Yes, nice.
Yeah, yeah. And
That's good.
but I did
Mhm.
not have any issues. But then I was placed under a breast cancer program insurance
Hmm.
through the state
Oh,
because
Okay.
where I was working, I was always working, but I wasn't completely full time because
Okay.
I had to drive across town to pick up my daughter from private school. So I was not at 40 hours. So I didn't qualify for the company insurance, but
oh wow.
I know,
Mhm.
but that's neither here
Yeah.
nor there now. God
Mhm.
had a plan and he
Mhm.
saw me through it.
Okay.
So when I was first diagnosed, I went to see a doctor in Beverly Hills. My girlfriend Selena went with me
Mhm.
um, for us to go, for him to give me the approval to get the biopsy or whatever. This was after my doctor. And she and I sat in the waiting room for what seemed like forever to get, these results, to get to the doctor. And they came and told us that he could not see me and he had to go. And I was devastated. I was waiting on test results to come back. And at that moment, I knew I could not see this doctor anymore. I had to switch doctors. So I
Yeah.
requested a new doctor, which all of these things could have been a serious delay in my treatment, which the cancer could have spread, but it didn't. And I requested a new doctor and I started going to St. Mary's in Long Beach.
Okay.
And I had Dr. Sarkeesian, and he was a new doctor, but he was a good doctor. He, whatever I needed, whatever I didn't understand, or whatever, he tried his best to make sure that I understood.
Wonderful.
Took his time. He would call me. I have his personal cell phone to this day. But I was glad that I had that experience with the doctor. I would have hated to have been in the midst
Yeah.
of treatment and then something happened and I needed to, because that would have been just devastating for treatment when you're in the midst of it.
Yes.
So I was glad that it happened beforehand, that I was able to change doctors. So that
Very
was
good.
about my only bad experience. Other than there was only one African American employee when I was in treatment. There was no one else that looked like me. There was one nurse that came like maybe 2 days a week, and that was it.
Wow.
So it was a little disheartening not to have, just a doctor or someone. Dr. Sarkeesian was, I think he was Indian, and he
Okay.
was great. I mean, but I would have liked to have had
Yeah.
just some more interaction with women or male who looks like myself on this journey. And that was one of the things that made me say I needed to do something about it, to reach out to others that look like me to help other women and men get through this. it's always better just to be able to, identify with someone.
For sure.
So, how was your experience with your doctors and your staff? Was your staff, was there any African Americans on your staff at the time?
For me, no African Americans. Same. I think my doctor is Indian. But great experience. When I
Mhm.
first was diagnosed, he was actually in Texas on conference. And so he flew back and met with myself and the family and put the plan in place.
Nice,
Um, and it was great.
nice.
My radiation was done closer to home. I was, living there in Long Beach. And so the radiation took place at Long Beach Memorial. And there I did see more African Americans. But in the radiology department, maybe a couple, but I did meet a lot of nice African American faculty there. But I can't even think of any bad experiences. Everyone I came across was truly, truly wonderful.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good because everybody's experience has not been that
No, no,
with
not at all.
insurances, with doctors. So I'm sure as Survivor Sunday continues to go on, I'll hear some different
Oh, yeah.
stories,
Yes.
and different challenges as it's gone on. Um, Jennifer, has there been anyone else in your family diagnosed with breast cancer or any other type of cancer in your immediate family?
No breast cancer.
Okay.
But I have an aunt who had cancer. She passed. The cancer did eventually go to her brain. Um,
Hmm.
and then that's my dad's side. And then on my mom's side, there was an aunt who we believed had some type of ovarian cancer. We aren't sure exactly what, but it was most likely ovarian. But no, there was no other breast cancer within my family. Um,
So,
when I was
what was
diagnosed,
your knowledge like about breast cancer before? None. Okay.
very, very slim.
Okay.
Yeah, very little.
Free,
My
you were the
Yes.
first
Mhm.
of the four of your family members who
Right.
experienced breast cancer. Um, was everybody stage one, or what were the stages like for everybody?
Um, I I was stage one, my sister, my daughter was two, and my younger sister is four.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um, and stage four is metastatic.
correct.
For guests who don't know what stage four is, metastatic is when it's spread throughout the body.
So it
Um,
spread to her liver, and we're here now. So yeah, she had breast cancer, and she had a lumpectomy, and 2 years
the
later,
the first time she had a
the yeah,
lumpectomy.
the first time she had a lumpectomy, and then 2 years later, that's when it spread. And just last year, she was diagnosed with the MBC, which is the metastatic breast cancer. And right now, her liver, the tumor is grown. And we're here.
And how old is she, Free?
She's 35. Birthday is February 11th.
She's the age that you were when you were first diagnosed.
Yeah.
And this is just, as I said, what a lot of people don't understand, or they don't see, is that this monster is so ugly, and when it comes back, or when it spreads to a loved one, it's devastating.
Yeah.
It's devastating. We do know, I know some people who have MBC, who've been living with it for 10 years, 12 years. Um, it's hard, because they're constantly on chemo. They have to go in and get the medication on a regular basis. But they try to have the best quality of life that they can. Um, you know, I hate cancer because it's something that we didn't ask for, something that we have no control over, something that, they say they're working on a cure for, but they never seem to come up with a cure for it. And so many of us are diagnosed, we die, and they still don't come up with a cure. We didn't put a man on the moon.
Yeah.
We did all type of stuff, and we still don't have a cure for cancer.
What's hurtful for me, December 11th is when we took her to her doctor, and December 12th had the family together to discuss the end of life and was talking about hospice for my 35-year-old sister. I could not keep it together. So, but by the grace of God, she's still here. They said she had 30 days max to live, but she's here. She's still here. But just to have that discussion, to pull the family together to discuss hospice, to talk about that.
When I tell you how strong you are to be a two-time survivor, to have watched your daughter go through this while you were going through it, to watch your sister go through it twice, and your other sister, that's strength that's unimaginable. And I'm looking at it like you are amazingly strong, like you are free. And of course, I'm here for you, but God's grace, that's all we can ever account to is God's grace, is say, just thank him for everything and all the time, and continue to do our best to be the best people that we can be. That's all we can do, and continue to try to fight and understand this nasty disease. We got to continue to try to spread awareness, because we know that early detection is key. That's why we're here. That's why you're in the car, because you want to help somebody else to say, hey, get up and go get your mammogram. Get up and go advocate. If you feel like you need a checkup, go advocate for yourself. That's why you're in the car, while you're at the hospital with your sister, saying that this is important. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. Let's help another woman save your life. I feel like when we know that breast cancer is fueled by estrogen, for me, it was. So I feel like when young girls, they say 40, but when young women start having their menstrual cycle, that's when estrogen is prevalent, it's growing in your body. Why not start talking to them about breasts and making sure that you're doing the appropriate checks and things? We need to start doing checks earlier, not just at 40. It's your daughter was what? One was
29.
Your 29, and your sister was 32.
I was
So
35.
why are we waiting till 40?
All four of us were diagnosed under 40. Yeah, initially.
Way under 40.
Way
35,
under. Yeah, especially
32,
my daughter.
29. Yeah, why are we waiting till 40? These are the things that I want to, for us to battle insurance companies about, because that's what it comes down to is money. But why are we waiting till 40? And it seems like Black women we're experiencing this even earlier, even younger. Now that my daughter, I'm expecting for my daughter to get a mammogram. Sorry, hold on. Can you hear me?
Supposed to be 10 years younger than when you were diagnosed.
Exactly. So I'm expecting my baby to get checked out much early. But not only that, because we know that breast cancer affects males, 2%, 3% of men, I'm expecting my sons to get checked.
I was also young. I was 34 years old when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and the same thing. They told me the same thing. Well, you're too young, you're healthy. I don't think that's what it is, but we'll send you off for these additional tests. And sure enough, it was breast cancer. So because I was also a young diagnosee, and I'm listening to Free's story, and I've met other young women, 19, 20, who have been diagnosed with breast cancer, I've been in talks with doctors and politicians, what can be done? Why
Right.
must we wait until 40? It does not make sense. And so, but the argument and the wall that I keep coming up against is because women, when they're in their 30s, that's when they've got all these, their lumps, they've got, what do they call them? Dense breast, and it's not going to make sense to test them. And I says, but there's got to be some way around this because we are being diagnosed. And what it all
Earlier. Yes.
Earlier. So it's just been a battle that I've been facing and wanting to change policy to change the number. The 40 is just not getting it. We have got to be able to be tested before. Of course, naturally, if you're affected by it through your family, they will give you a mammogram and you've got to go and request. But we are saying, why can't it be done without those implications, especially for like individuals like myself? There was no one, and I was still one of those diagnosed with breast cancer. So,
and then another thing is like white women are diagnosed more, but African American women have the higher mortality rate from breast cancer. Something has to be done.
Right. We die at a 40% higher mortality rate than our counterparts. And we know that there's several reasons why. We know that we are diagnosed later.
And
we know that
that's the pushback also. Yeah.
Yes, we are diagnosed later in later stages. We know that our treatment plans are not being effective because we are not, going through with them all the time, the compliancy, or not having insurance that covers it. When we were writing our book, remember someone was told that they had to have $10,000 to go and do radiation. We were like, what?
Wow.
The day she went, they told her she had to have $10,000. Her insurance wouldn't cover it. So these are the things that we face, and how do you tell somebody who's fighting for their life, you need $10,000? Wait.
I'm sorry.
So we are experiencing things a little bit differently. We face things, that our counterparts do not face when it comes to our health, and we know that. So that's why we have to have platforms like this. That's why we have to continue to spread awareness about it and tell women, hey, fight for your rights. Go and get your mammograms, ask for those ultrasounds, be the expert of your health, of your body.
Amen.
That's why we have to share our stories. We can't, grandma and auntie, we can't be them. We can't keep this to ourselves, because then when you find out you had breast cancer, grandma said, oh, my sister, her other sister, they all had breast cancer. And you'd be like, well, why didn't I know this? Why weren't we sharing this?
Yeah.
But this is why we're here. This is the things that we have to do. One of my questions, or one of the things that I believe that helped me on my journey, was that I had an amazing support system. I believe that your support system is so important, because you have to know that you're going to make it, and your support system does too.
Yeah.
Tell me about your support systems a little bit. How and what was that like for you?
Great.
My family, the first time I was diagnosed, it was okay. I had a support system, but the second time, it's when my whole family came through. They took turns. I moved to California. My family was in Chicago, and my sister came to take care of me. She took off work. She took a leave to help me out. Then my mother and my father came to help me. So I had a great foundation, a support system. That's what you need.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. What about you,
And
Jennifer?
the first time I went to Gilders Club of Chicago. So there are organizations that help you. Support system. You don't have support system. There are support systems out there, and they really helped me. They had activities there for not just the women diagnosed breast cancer, but their family members as well, because they go through it with you.
Yeah.
So I like that.
What is Gilders Club?
It's Gilders Club. Gilda Radner had cancer. I forgot what cancer she had, but it's a breast cancer. I mean, it's a cancer club sponsored by I don't know, Northwestern, but they help people out. They have activities and they have support groups. like Black women with breast cancer, young women, older women with different age group, different classes, and different support groups for everybody, and even have things for children of people with breast cancer and for grieving people as well.
Yeah.
So I
Was
really
that in
like it.
Chicago?
It's in
That was
Chicago,
in
yes.
Chicago.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. Jennifer, what about you? How was your support system?
My support system was also family. Of course,
Mm.
my mom, she took me to every single one of my chemo treatments.
Excuse me.
You know, I had
Hmm.
my close girlfriends, of course, my children. I remember, in going through the treatment, I remember just feeling really down and not wanting to go out or not even take phone calls or talk to anybody. And one of my girlfriends, who was like my sister, Jackie, came and she just picked me up and she took me to the mall and she just wheeled me through the mall with the wheelchair, like, I'm getting you out of this house. And it was like at those times, that's when I felt so blessed to have the support system that I had. And my children, oh my gosh, they were phenomenal. Those
Hmm.
kids like gave me strength. They made me feel like I was superwoman, even at my lowest.
You
And
all may
so,
have to go for a sec. Okay.
yes,
Uh-huh.
Okay.
that's what it was all about. Oh, does Free have to go?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, I do. I gotta take a call.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. No, we appreciate you. We
Mhm.
appreciate you. We're praying for you.
Praying
I'm
for
here
you,
if you need us.
Free, lifting you up.
Nelly, thank you. Thank you for
Mhm.
joining us. Okay.
Thank
Call
you so
me.
much. Okay,
You
we'll
can
do,
call me
sis.
tonight.
Thank you all so
Okay.
much.
Thank you, sis. I
All right,
appreciate
bye-bye.
you.
Take
Bye.
care.
For me, I had a great support system as well. But I saw people that came in for treatment that did not have anyone. And I saw women who could not navigate through the system, through the bureaucracy, through the insurance and things of that nature. So I started my own nonprofit. That's why I started this. It's
Yeah.
called the Heal Her Too Foundation. And in our nonprofit, our hopes are to be able to provide wraparound services for other survivors. We want to be able to support the caregivers because the caregivers need support. And
Mhm.
we definitely want to be able to support those who are in treatment.
Yes.
So if you know someone who is currently in treatment or has a loved one who can use some support, we are here. It's our website is www.heal her the number two foundation.org. So Jennifer, tell me about your nonprofit. Tell me about your nonprofit that you
My
have started.
organization, Cupcakes and Shine. So Cupcakes and Shine initially, it was a cupcake business. And the cupcake business actually started through my journey, my breast cancer journey. I
Mhm.
was actually just coming from surgery. I had my lumpectomy. I'm all wrapped and bandaged up. And I had this idea, how about cupcakes? Because I had been baking cupcakes for my daughter. My daughter was going to private school and parent participation was huge. You've got to participate. So I was making the cupcakes for all of the events and activities. And it was a huge hit. We had a birthday party together. We had a cupcake display table. So I had this idea. So in my bandages after my surgery, my son's
Mhm.
producing the photo shoot. My daughter's the little model, and we started the cupcake business. The business went great. Had some great customers. We had CBS. We had Chase Bank. We did a lot of great things. But then I wanted to add another leg, and the other leg was where I would reach out and give hope to those to women who have experienced breast cancer. And what we did was the very first thing we did is we had a forum where we would have individuals come out and just supply tools for living in your purpose. And so we did that for a few years. And then I branched out to doing more things like Wellness Day to get more into the caregivers and just really wanting to not only focus on the survivors, but the caregivers after learning and seeing how important their job is. And it's very extremely stressful, but important.
Mhm.
And as you mentioned, this past year, this last year, we did a fundraiser dinner and award ceremony for the very first time, where we wanted to acknowledge women like yourself who are doing phenomenal things in the cancer communities and really making a difference and being impactful. And so I know you were out of town, but you know your next step. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
no,
for all
I
that you do.
appreciate it. No,
Thank you.
I appreciate what you do too, because it takes all of us. It takes a village,
Yes,
the collaboration of working with others who want to support survivors and get the awareness out and things of that nature. That's what we all have to do because we have to continue to fight this fight. We don't have a choice.
right.
This was dumped on my lap. I didn't ask for this job,
Not
so
at all.
we'll continue to do it. So Jennifer, I appreciate you being here,
Thank
telling
you
your
for having
story.
me. Thank you.
I
Thank you.
appreciate Free for being here, telling her story, and we'll continue to work together and collaborate and share our stories going forward. And we're going to pray for Free, you all.
Yes,
Definitely pray for her and her family today.
yes.
So Free is an author in my book called 12 Shades of Breast Cancer. This book tells the stories of 12 individuals who were breast cancer survivors. It's an anthology. And we wrote this book right after diagnosis in 2019. And it was beautiful just to hear the stories, the journeys. And it was heartbreaking along the way as well because um, just because of the things that you experience, such as myself, I had no clue. I didn't know much about breast cancer at all. Since then, since we wrote this book, two of the authors in the book have gone on to be with the Lord. Um, the breast cancer came back, and we only had one male in our book, and he passed on. He fought breast cancer 3 times, and he passed last year, and so did one of the other survivors in the book. But if you are interested in knowing our stories, get the book. It's 12 Shades of Breast Cancer. It's on Amazon and it's on our website, www.healher2foundation.org. We are available for support groups. We provide services, as I said, for the caregiver, for the survivor. We do advocacy for those who are unable to advocate for themselves or ask the right questions, who just need support.
Yeah.
You all know me on Facebook, Dr. Lakeisha McGee. My inbox is always available, my website, my emails. Those of you who have my cell phone number or know someone who has my cell phone number, I've been on the phone with people in the middle of the night, 3, 4 in the morning. If you're scared, if you just need to talk, I am available. This is what I do. On top of this, I'm a therapist, so it kind of goes hand in hand. But I'm here and I'm grateful to have people like Jennifer in my village to be able to support other survivors. On the website, we do this box. It's called it's a little pink box. And in this box are supplies for survivors who are in chemo. We send them this little package. Of course, it has my brochure. It has a mask because we started these during the pandemic. It has breast cancer socks. My feet stay cold
Yeah.
during chemo. So, with that, we also put a notebook for a journal for you to write. When I went to the doctor, I always took a notebook because you get chemo brain. I
Yep.
would forget things. And if I didn't, my mom did, we were taking notes. So we put that in there. We have aloe vera gel because the radiation burns a hole in your skin. This aloe vera gel, I remember my sorority sister sent me an aloe vera plant, a pure plant. But the aloe vera gel, it helps. There's hand sanitizer. We put herbal tea because the herbal tea with the ginger helps to settle your stomach. It's lip balms. So if you want to be a part of this and you want to help us with these boxes, you can donate on our website. Any amount is not too small, any amount, because we buy these boxes out of our own pockets if we don't have a grant, and we send them. If you know someone who's in chemo right now who we can send a box to. Also, there's a beanie. I'm sorry, the beanie's not in here because my head, believe it or not, to this day, I don't know if you experienced this, the center of my head stays cold. Like
Really?
my
Yeah.
hair then grew back and everything, but the
Yeah.
center of my head still stays very sensitive.
I
So
remember
there's
having
also yeah, so there's also a beanie in here for those who lose their hair, because by day 14, for me it was day 12, that hair is falling out.
yeah.
If you would like to donate, please go to our website and there's a donate button. On there, there's also our brochure that you can download if you want to learn more about our organization. And just spread the news about it. And if you know someone who's in treatment, who could use my support, who can use my team support, inbox us, let us know.
Yes.
And that is it for us tonight, guys. We appreciate you. Once again, I am Dr. Lakeisha McGee. You can find me at www.heal, HEAL, 2foundation.org, or my personal website is www.lakeishamcgee.com. That's Lakeisha, LAKEISHA McGee.com. And Jennifer, where can they find you?
I am on all of the social media platforms under my full name, Jennifer Renee Wilson.
Okay. Oh yeah, and I'm on the other platforms too as I am Dr. McGee. I forgot all about them. All the 50 other hundreds of them.
Yes, yes, yes. They'll find you.
Yeah.
Heal her
Right.
too.
I am Dr. McGee. Right. Heal Her Too Foundation. Thank you all so much. Please share, subscribe, share, get the message out. Talk to your sisters about breast cancer. Talk to
Yes.
your families about your family history.
Yes,
That
yes.
is so important.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. So our next Survivor Sunday will be February 25th. That's our next Survivor Sunday. It's supposed to be every third Sunday, unless I have a conflict with my schedule. And I do have a conflict on that 18th, which it would have been. We're actually having a fundraiser on the 18th in Chicago. There'll be more to come, but we are having a karaoke night fundraiser for Heal Her Too in Chicago, February 18th. So there will be flyers around. Come out, hang out, gotta sing karaoke. I've done it one time and now I'm hooked. That will be in Chicago. All right, everybody. Good night. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I appreciate
Thank you
you.
for having me. Love you, sis.
All right. I love you too. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Wait, hold on, Jen. Hold on. I don't know what I'm doing.